Go ahead and open that bag, the one wedged in the back of your closet, the one riding behind the seat of your truck. What is actually in there right now? A 14-function folding multi-tool with a blade that flexes when you grip it hard. A 72-piece first aid kit, stuffed with bandages you will never use. A tactical folding knife with a hinge that wobbles. A paracord bracelet. A waterproof match container with no tinder inside it. If any of that sounds familiar, here is the uncomfortable truth. What you have is not a survival kit. It is a prop collection. It looks exactly like what a prepared person carries, and it will fail you completely the moment the situation turns real. The survival gear industry generates billions of dollars every year selling equipment that looks serious in product photos and collapses under real conditions. Here is what the gear review channels and the survival supply stores will not put in their marketing materials. You can handle 99% of real wilderness and grid-down emergencies with 8 tools that fit inside a single pouch small enough to stuff in a jacket pocket. 2 of the most common items in nearly every kit out there are not just useless. They are actively dangerous. They create false confidence. When they fail at the exact moment you need them, they leave you with nothing and no backup. We are naming both of them today. Before we touch any gear, we need the biological framework that governs every single decision in a survival emergency. The rule of threes: 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter in harsh conditions, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Read that list again carefully. Here is the problem with how most people build kits. They prepare for the 3-week scenario. Fishing hooks, snare wire, cooking systems. They are packing for a long camping trip, but the data on preventable outdoor deaths does not support that. The overwhelming majority of preventable deaths come from hypothermia and exposure within those first 3 hours. People die with food in their packs and water within reach and dry wood 20 feet away. They die because they could not get warm fast enough. Every item on this list maps directly onto that hierarchy. When we reach items that do not serve one of the top 3 priorities, we ask hard questions about whether they belong at all. 8 items, 2 death traps, 1 framework that changes how you think about all of it. Let us get into it. Item 1 is not in any survival bestseller list. It is not in any YouTube kit video. It is not in the camping aisle or the tactical section. You find it at a medical supply distributor. And when you see what it is, your first reaction will be that it does not belong in a bug-out bag. That reaction is exactly why most people die from a wound that should have been survivable. Celox hemostatic granules are a chitosan-based powder, and the words chitosan-based are doing critical work in that sentence. The moment Celox contacts an open wound, it bonds directly with red blood cells at the injury site, forming a gel clot that is completely independent of the body's natural clotting process. The body's natural clotting requires warmth and normal circulation. In cold emergency conditions, that process slows down or stops. Celox does not slow down. It works in hypothermic conditions. It works on patients taking blood thinners. It works in 30 seconds. This is where most people's emergency medical knowledge fails them. They assume bleeding is managed with pressure and gauze. Pressure and gauze work on surface wounds. A deep puncture that reaches a significant blood vessel produces bleeding that pressure alone cannot control on the timeline that keeps you alive. Picture the scenario this tool exists for. You are 4 miles from the trailhead and you take a fall onto a sharp rock shelf. The cut on your thigh is deep. Pressure is slowing it, but not stopping it. You open the Celox packet, pack the granules directly into the wound, apply firm pressure for 30 seconds. The bleeding stops. 1 packet, $15, half an ounce. Pack 3. No kit that claims to be serious is complete without them. Item 2 does not come from the camping store. It comes from the pool supply section of any hardware store, and the argument lives inside one number. 1 teaspoon of calcium hypochlorite at 68% concentration treats 10,000 gallons of water. The words calcium hypochlorite, 68%, are doing critical work in that sentence. Not stabilized chlorine tablets, not any other pool chemical, calcium hypochlorite specifically. Dissolve a teaspoon in 2 gallons of water to create a stock solution. Add 1 part stock to 100 parts water. Wait 30 minutes. Treated water with 0 filters to clog and 0 batteries required. A lot of kits contain survival straws with ceramic filtration. Here is the failure mode the product page does not mention. If that ceramic element freezes in cold conditions, it develops microfractures invisible to the eye. After that, every sip passes through a cracked filter that looks intact and performs as if it has been removed. That is not a water filter anymore. That is a false sense of safety with a mouthpiece on it. Pool Shock shelf life is years. 1 pound costs under $6. No excuse not to have it. Item 3 is not sold in the camping aisle or the outdoor gear section. It is sold in the building materials aisle of every hardware store in the country, and it outperforms every dedicated survival shelter product on the market in the conditions that actually kill people. It is called Tyvek House Wrap, and the word house wrap is doing critical work in that sentence. Tyvek is a spun-bonded polyethylene fabric engineered to wrap the exterior of buildings before siding installation. It blocks liquid water and wind completely while allowing water vapor to pass through. That combination is exactly the property you need in a survival shelter material. Waterproof from the outside, breathable from the inside. It does not trap moisture the way a sealed plastic bag does. It does not shred in wind the way a standard Mylar blanket does. It does not crack or become brittle in cold. A 9-foot by 10-foot section weighs under 4 ounces. It can be cut with any blade, folded to the size of a folded map, and deployed as a ground sheet, a wind barrier, a lean-to-roof, a sleeping bag liner, or a full body wrap in under 2 minutes. Picture the scenario. Dropping temperatures, building wind, nothing to build with. You pull out your Tyvek section, fold it around your body, tuck the edges beneath you. The wind stops reaching your skin. The ground stops pulling heat from your core. Under 4 ounces, under 50 cents per square foot. No excuse not to have a section in every kit. Item 4 is fire. A lot of kits contain a standard lighter. In calm conditions, it works fine. But a lighter has 4 failure modes, and every one of them activates in exactly the conditions that make fire critical. Cold temperatures prevent butane from vaporizing. Wind extinguishes the flame on contact. Wet conditions kill the spark mechanism. And an empty tank does not announce itself until you are already in the dark and freezing. UCO stormproof matches are a different category of tool entirely, and the word stormproof is doing critical work in that sentence. Each match is coated in a layered chemical compound that ignites on strike and continues burning for up to 12 seconds through wind, through rain, through direct submersion in water, and immediate re-exposure to air, not resistant to wind and water, through wind and water, no butane to run out, no piezo mechanism to fail, no technique beyond a single strike. Picture the scenario. It is 34 degrees, you are wet, your hands are shaking. You strike one match. It stays lit for 12 seconds through the wind while you position your tinder. The fire starts. 25 matches per box. Under $10. No excuse not to have 2 boxes. Item 5 is where the survival marketing machine earns the most money and causes the most real-world harm. The cutting tool category. Look at survival cutting tools in any outdoor retailer. Massive fixed blade knives, tactical hatchets, machetes. They look like film props because in terms of practical survival application, that is exactly what they are. The most critical cutting task in any real survival emergency is processing wood for fire and shelter. Not carving, not combat. A folding saw with a 7-inch curved blade and hardened teeth performs that job faster and with less effort than any fixed blade or hatchet at any price. A quality folding saw from Silky or Baco cuts through a 4-inch branch in under 20 seconds. A knife doing the same task takes 4 minutes and exhausts the user. In a survival scenario where caloric reserves are finite and body temperature is already dropping, that energy is a resource you cannot replace. This is where most kit builders fail. They select a cutting tool based on how it looks. A folding saw does not look tactical. It looks like something a landscaper carries. That is exactly what it is, and landscapers process wood for a living because it is the right tool for the job. Picture the scenario. You need fire. The only available wood is wet on the outside. The folding saw gets you to the dry core in under a minute. A knife takes 10 minutes, under 8 ounces, folds to 9 inches. No excuse not to have one. Item 6 is the only item on this list that performs 3 completely separate survival functions from a single container, and almost nobody in the survival community talks about it. Potassium permanganate, dark purple crystals. You find it at a chemical supply store or online. Here are the 3 functions. Function 1, water purification. Add crystals to water until it turns light pink. That concentration kills bacteria and most pathogens in 30 minutes. The color is the measuring tool. Light pink is correct. Dark purple is too concentrated. The water tells you what the concentration is with no equipment required. Function 2, fire starting. Mix potassium permanganate with glycerin from a small dropper bottle, $2, and a slow-burning exothermic reaction begins within 30 to 60 seconds, producing enough heat to ignite tinder. No spark, no lighter, a chemical reaction. Function 3, wound and fungal treatment. A dilute solution is a recognized medical treatment for infected wounds and trench foot used in clinical settings globally. Picture the scenario. Day 4. You need to treat creek water. Your fire-starting materials are wet, and your feet have been wet for 3 days. One container addresses all 3, under $10, under 2 ounces. No excuse not to have it. Item 7 generates the most resistance when we bring it up because it looks primitive. Here is the number that ends that conversation. A quality signal mirror with an aiming hole produces a flash visible from a rescue aircraft at 10 miles in clear conditions. A whistle carries sound at most 1 mile. A signal fire requires dry fuel, time, and favorable wind. A signal mirror requires sunlight and 30 seconds of learned technique. Here is the technique. Hold the mirror face out at eye level. Extend your free hand forward with fingers spread. Tilt the mirror until the reflected sunspot lands on your extended fingers. You can see that spot on your hand. Tilt the mirror until the aiming hole and that spot on your fingers are both pointing toward the aircraft. The beam follows the geometry. This is where people fail. They buy the mirror and never practice the aim. Trained, they produce a directed beam search and rescue pilots are specifically looking for. Untrained, they produce random flashes that track nothing. A glass signal mirror with an aiming hole costs under $10, weighs under 1 ounce. No batteries, no fuel, no failure modes under normal use. At 10 miles of effective range, it is not the backup tool. It is the primary one. Practice the technique 20 times this week. Your hands will remember it when your brain cannot. No excuse not to have one. Item 8 is the item every professional survival instructor carries and almost no survival content creator ever mentions. The photon micro light, smaller than a house key, clips to a zipper pull, a dog tag loop, a watch strap, or the inside of a collar. Runs on a single CR 2016 battery that lasts approximately 12 years under normal use. A lot of kits contain a headlamp. Headlamps are useful, but they have 3 failure modes the photon eliminates. Headlamps require battery management. Headlamps must be located and retrieved under stress. And headlamps fail when their battery management circuitry fails in extreme cold. The photon has no circuit board. It has a direct connection between a battery cell and an LED. Cold slows the battery but does not kill the light. The specific value of the photon is not its brightness. It is that it is always on your body, not in your bag. On your body. Picture the scenario. You are in a ravine. It is dark. Your bag is 10 feet from you and you cannot reach it. The photon is on your zipper pull. You press it. You can see. Under $25. Under half an ounce. Attach one right now and never take it off. We promised you 2 items to remove from your kit. Both of them are almost certainly in your bag right now. Death Trap 1 is the pre-packaged bulk first aid kit. The 72-piece or 100-piece version in the red zippered case. Item count creates the feeling of coverage. More pieces means more prepared. It does not. What those kits actually contain: dozens of adhesive bandages in 4 sizes, antiseptic wipes, alcohol pads, gauze squares, a CPR face shield. Every item designed to address minor injuries where professional care is minutes away, not the emergencies that kill you when you are 3 days from help. A bandage collection does not stop a hemorrhage. Antiseptic wipes do not treat a dislocated shoulder. That is not a first aid kit for a survival emergency. That is a comfort object in a red case. Replace it with 3 packets of Celox, a SAM splint, trauma shears, and wound irrigation saline. That 4-item kit weighs less, takes up less space, and addresses the injuries that actually kill people in the field. Death Trap 2 is the off-brand folding multi-tool. The The steel is too soft to hold an edge and too brittle for lateral stress. The pivot pins loosen after 20 deployments. The locking mechanisms fail under exactly the load you will apply in a real emergency. This is where people fail. They carry this tool because it photographs like preparedness. In a real emergency, they discover it performs like a prop. That is not a multi-tool. That is a collection of metal shapes that resemble tools until the moment you rely on them. Replace it with the folding saw from item 5. Now use the framework, the 5 C's. Cover, Tyvek house wrap. Combustion, UCO, stormproof matches and tinder tabs. Container, pool shot granules, cutting, folding saw. Cordage, Tyvek strips torn from the section already in your kit. The additions address the gaps. Celox addresses hemorrhage. Potassium permanganate addresses water, fire, and wound care from one container. The signal mirror addresses rescue range. The photon addresses the reality that the most critical tool is the one always on your body. A survival emergency is not a camping trip. It is a biology and physics problem. Your body generates heat. The environment takes it. Every ounce of gear that does not address that equation is weight you chose to carry over capability you chose to leave behind. The field does not grade on effort, it grades on outcomes. Drop a comment with the most useless piece of gear you have ever carried. We read every single one. Subscribe and hit the bell. New video every week, no sponsored gear, no affiliate links. Just the information that actually keeps you alive. Stay prepared, stay sharp. We will see you in the next one.